say some things.
Hello. Adventure.
Love.
Connection.
Risk.
Passion.
Evolution.
Play.
Life, the Archetypal Tarot Podcast. Provocative mythology for the 21st century.
Aloha. Today marks our 10-year anniversary of podcasting. From the Fool to the World and back, Story Through Stone founder and teacher Cyndera Quakenbush and archetypal consultant Julienne Givot, that's me, have been dishing out thoughts, ideas, interviews, and wisecracks about the tarot, archetypes, and provocative mythology for the 21st century for an entire decade. This episode is a rare opportunity for us to be together in person, discussing the past, present, and the future. We hope you enjoy.
Julienne, I have something to say to you.
Uh-oh. What?
Happy anniversary.
Oh my God. We've been together a long time.
And it's not just any anniversary. It's been 10 years! Oh my God!
You gotta be kidding me. 10 years! And you know what, people who have been with us for 10 years? Thank you. And we apologize. So, live from Suisun City, it's the 10-year podcast anniversary of the Archetypal Tarot Podcast.
And that means that we are here together in person.
The same room.
Fully vaccinated. Thank you
Fully
very
vaccinated.
much.
Thank you. Yes. And we have not recorded together since, I think, the time that you came to Maui, and we did a little podcast. We did a Hawaii podcast.
We did
6 years ago.
Oh my gosh.
So here we are, Cyndera and Julienne together again, the dynamic double trouble duo in, I'm going to call it the Owlry, but it has another name.
Oh, it's not the official name.
Owlful?
Did you know this room was originally going to be the dragon room? I had
Oh.
dragons from around the world that were going to be in this little tiny room, but of course they outgrew the space, so we made it the owl room. There's tons of cool archetypal psychology books. I caught Julienne reading the Red Book this morning.
I did. I woke up and started reading the Red Book by Carl Jung. I'm that nerdy.
And I'm like, that's why you're my friend, and that's why we have been doing this for 10 years, and we still like each other. In fact, we love each other. So yeah, this is a special anniversary podcast. We're gonna reminisce a little bit on our origins. We're gonna talk about like, whoa, where did we land right now? How did that happen? And we're gonna talk a little bit, we're gonna dream into our future of the podcast a little bit and see where we're going together.
Yeah, and I definitely want to honor the fact that 10 years in podcasting is 100 years.
Yeah.
It's 100 years in podcast years.
I'm going to tell you how old this podcast is, okay? Are you ready?
In podcast years? Okay.
This is how old this podcast is. When we recorded the Father episode, the Emperor archetype, Bill Cosby was a good guy back then.
Oh, snap.
That is how old this podcast is.
Much has changed.
We were like, Bill Cosby, he's a pretty good dad.
He's the archetypal dad.
He's
and we
the
were
archetypal dad.
He's the example. How wrong we were. But on the show, as we perceived, yes, definitely there. But in reality, art versus reality.
Art versus reality.
So we're back recording directly into the laptop, not in a closet, which is weird for us. We have a whole bedroom, but I'm just gonna put it out there that the sound quality might also be retro to our first handful of episodes, which had room tone and noise and stuff happening. So it won't be our highest quality sound recording, but all y'all who've listened to us, you've probably gotten used to that, and you've suffered through our up and down sound quality. So be that as it may, over 260,000 downloads later, here we are, back in the same room together. I'm stoked. I'm chuffed. I can't believe it's been 10 years.
And so for those of you that are just joining us, maybe for the past couple episodes or are new to us, the way we got our start was pretty much recording in a closet in San Francisco. And I remember being really excited to do this podcast. I was an armchair idea person. I still am in many ways. But I said, hey, Julienne, you know archetypes. I'm interested in the tarot. Like, let's just get together and press record and talk about every single major arcana card of the tarot through an archetypal lens. So we pooled together our interests in psychology, brought together your wit is better than
love
mine,
of
but,
movies
you know,
and
movies and culture
TV and archetypes and Jung and fairy tales and myth. And I don't know if longtime listeners might notice, and we've, I think, been pretty consistent throughout. I say tarot, and Cyndera says tarot. And it's never been an issue. We always just, this is the way I say it.
It's a potato sort of situation.
Tomato,
and
tomato.
We still like each other 10 years later.
Yeah, I hear what I want to hear. It's all good. It's honestly a matter of accent, I think.
For sure, Givot, which I know
It's faux French. It's faux French. We're not French at all. Oh, never mind. So I'm stoked that we've been doing this for so long, and if people are interested in that first 2 years, we were consistently every month putting out a new podcast following 0 through 22, 0 through the world, each archetype. Then we went back and did some of our favorites, and we had interviews. We have met some amazing freaking people through this foolish endeavor that we took.
Most recently, Nancy Hendrickson and the Ancestral Tarot.
That was
really
bomb
rocked
diggity.
our world.
Yeah, the last podcast we did, we're fans of. It's hard for me to listen to the really early podcasts. I'm just like, But I'm not saying they're bad. I'm just saying, as an artist, I'm like, wow, we could have done better with that. But
well, true to the tarot.
We learned on the road.
True to the tarot. We are like the Fool. We got started, and somehow we made it to the end of the major arcana, and we went through different phases. So, and to be honest, we've been through periods where we just didn't want to do this anymore. And we bounced it. We kind of played a podcast tennis, if you will, or maybe the popular thing is pickleball now. We were playing a podcast pickleball. I was like, I can't do this anymore. And Julienne took it over. She did amazing interviews with lots of different tarot people that are still friends and followers on Instagram, doing their own thing now. And then it bounced over to me, and I did a bit of Story Through Stone, reflections. We've always drawn cards, I believe, at the beginning of the new year.
We've been doing it for a while. I don't think we've done it since the beginning, but I think it's been a long time.
It was a new tradition we started, and have kept that up, drawing cards for the new year with an archetypal breakdown. And it's brought us to our most recent. We have themed podcasts, and we love books, actually. We love people who write books, and so we'll or doing interesting things in the world. So we'd love to do some more interviews. So this is bringing us into the future, I guess, portion of our anniversary podcast. Where are we going to go next?
Where, indeed. Tell us, Cyndera. No.
I feel like I'm stepping back into those fool's shoes
a little bit, but like you referenced, there's, sometimes we want to kill the baby. Not literally, but like the podcast, because both of us have, so much has happened in the last 10 years. Like, my life is not completely different, but really, really different than it was. I had a practice consulting with people and counseling them back in the day. That transmogrified itself into other things. I live on Maui. I live thousands of miles away from where we started. Big life transitions have happened, I think, for both of us. So that is reflected in the podcast and the things that we decided to do. So everyone has listened, whether you want to or not, you're on the journey with us. And I think hopefully we do a good job of sharing our lessons and interesting things that have come up. So I feel like, we have just come back together to agree to keep this going probably more in the style of the last couple of years. So it won't necessarily be every month, because I think we felt that it wasn't right to just crank something out, to have it out there. It wasn't fair to the listeners, and it really didn't make sense for us.
We're here because we're moved to be here.
Yeah.
Whenever we're pressing that record button, it's because there's something deeply that we want to share and explore. Quality
over quantity. So that is, I think we will continue with that. And we really did a big reboot when the pandemic hit, and we both realized it was important to get together and talk about it, share those conversations with people, listen in, you know, on the social and with people who send us messages. So I think more of that is to come, along with more interviews with people. We've always taken license with, is it tarot related? No, but maybe. But really, this is interesting, and we want to share it with you.
Absolutely.
So
we're turning the mirror to our audience in many ways. I mean, since we started this podcast, a renaissance of tarot has been happening in the world. Most of you, I'm sure, have heard of Biddy Tarot. Has just transformed the accessibility and the knowledge around tarot. She's demystified it. She's made it accessible to so many people throughout the world. And so being on Instagram now, you see so many tarot readers, and they're doing live readings, and they're sharing their wisdom through pictures and reflections all over the place. And I think it's fabulous. So I'm inspired by all of you tarot readers and tarot explorers out there. If you've written a book, if you're doing something interesting out in your community, if you're a tarot reader with a unique approach, particularly with an archetypal lens, we're really interested in hearing from you. And maybe we'll do some of these live Instagram chats, or and turn them into podcasts, or have them adjacent to our podcast. So we want to open up and explore where this is going in the world, and how archetypal tarot can be supportive to that. So reach out. We want this to be a dialogue.
Absolutely. And if we don't get back to you right away, don't take that as a bad sign. Both of us have careers and practices and businesses. So get the email out to us, get the message via, actually email is best. That way we both know that we've seen it. Or you can send us a direct message on Instagram. That's fine too. But just know that, like, we have to balance messages with all the other things in life. And I know Cyndera's out of school and in a teaching role, and with children. I have weddings and ceremonies, so those really require focused attention. So definitely reach out. We have ideas. I'm thinking back to I just want to acknowledge some of the amazing people that we've gotten to meet over the years through this crazy thing, and people who, they look to us for information as they were kind of tarot noobs, and now they're like full-fledged like Instagram influencer tarot readers with books and classes and stuff like that. So that's really humbling to me, to be like, they came to us to learn, and that really, we were a tiny slice part of launching into their own experience of the tarot and sharing that. And that's been really awesome. And people like Melissa Cynova, who's been a multiple guest, become friends with her. She's amazing. Rash from Stay Woke Tarot, another amazing human being who we're just so lucky to know. She is a patron of our show still, which is fantastic. And just supporting her and seeing all these people thrive out there in the world. I kind of feel like, wow, I know rock stars now. Mm-hmm. We just do this little podcast. So we know this amazing. So it's super fun to be tangentially related, to these people who I think bring a great deal and a unique voice to the world. So I celebrate that.
Yeah, and if you have created your own deck, we want to see it too. I would love to bring a storytelling approach to anyone's tarot deck. We could do it on the podcast. I would look at your deck, review your deck, look at the gorgeous pictures, have you on. We would love, we're in an amazing time for tarot. There are so many manifestations, and it's opening up all the worlds, all the cultures, and bringing them into focus in a beautiful way. So I would love to explore more of that as well.
Yeah, and I would throw into that the category of, because symbols are the language of the soul, from my perspective, and Cyndera's, I believe, too. So how are we working with symbols? The way that we can understand things that's not simply through the intellect or the mind, but things that are kind of bringing more senses into our experience, because I think most of us know there are no maps to where we are as a people on this planet. We are living in unprecedented times, and we're more unprecedented times. Like, nobody knows how this works exactly, with what we're facing socially and definitely environmentally. So I think that's another reason that the consciousness of symbols, we have to move more toward that to understand and navigate moment to moment through life. So people who are doing, your story through stone decks, I think is probably even more relevant now, and our relationship to the planet, and understanding that it's not a dead thing we live on. We are a part of it, is a symbiotic relationship. And my exploration through prayer and connecting to the planet with Hawaiian culture, and prayer in relationship to the rosary, the relationship to the archetypal mother. I'm sure those will probably make their way into the podcast as well. We are one of my teachers, Jean Houston, used to say that we're oftentimes the people of the parenthesis, where we see we're at beginning of an epoch, and we're working our way maybe in future incarnations to the other parenthesis. And that, she would always say, now is the time and we are the people. You're on this planet for a purpose. And it's not simply, school, birth, school, work, death. There's a purpose and a meaning to all of our lives, and it is playing an important role in everything that's happening. Michael Meade, obviously, is another great teacher who we've yet to have on the show. Michael Meade, if you can hear us. But his work too has, I think, influenced both of us, and it does echo that. And a lot of his work is from mythology and indigenous cultures from around the world. That, never fear, you're important to this, and it's not simply having a fat bank account or this or that, and it's not simply about survival. I truly believe it's not an arrogant thing to say that we all play an important role. That role might not be giant and ego satisfying, but it can be soul satisfying, and living from that, I think, is going to get us through or help us show the way, versus living from the ego where it's all about me and F everything else. We're seeing the results of that general attitude. So some fellowship with that, with those ideas, and I'm sure we'll meet more people along the line. A lot of people follow us on YouTube. Thank you, Richard. Richard's one of our patrons. He's the one who posts everything on YouTube. Shout out to Richard. We have so many people to thank. He just volunteered. He's just like, I love your show. I will help out. So it's not just me and Cyndera. We have so many people that we're grateful to. We're going to cry. Just kidding.
It takes a village to raise a podcast.
No shit. No shit.
Yeah. And so, continuing to find that purpose and path through the world, no matter whether or not you're a professional tarot reader or you just love to do it as a hobby or a spiritual practice, it can help you stay on track. And that's what this podcast has been about too, is conversations around finding that for each of us. And I don't know, I think we have a really fun, foolish wisdom that goes deep, but also leads you back to yourself. This is really the only person that can answer these questions is yourself, through these explorations with ancient imagery, with your own dreams, and with some mentors and guides that can lead you a certain amount down the path until you can find your way again. So you are living as a free-range priestess in Hawaii. And this was not even a figment of your imagination 10 years ago.
No, the only thing that gave me a hint at that time, and it was around that time, is you'd gotten the deck of the Mana cards. The Hawaiian, they're called monocards. You can still get them. They're very cool. They are archetypes and gods and goddesses of the Hawaiian culture. And you did do a reading for me either before or after we'd started that did kind of hint at a change, not directly to Hawaii, but that kind of was there. And then I also look back over time, and I'd been painting quite a bit, doing small watercolors and poems and things that I'd put together that I was like, you could call it soul, my spirit was guiding me to that decision, to the like foolish decision to go visit my friend in Hawaii, in Maui, to be like, I'm going to check this out. Not actually thinking I would live there, but also knowing I was supposed to move there many years before. That fell through. So it was almost like, okay, it's like, I believe sometimes we're fated to certain things, but we occasionally get multiple opportunities or pathways to it. We can completely ignore them. I think that is something that happens in life. There isn't always a full fate that no matter what, or our avoidance is the fate. I will avoid this for a long time. But that I didn't really know. But the writing was on the wall, as it were. The images were already starting to come through me, and that whole process was unexpected. But at the same time, I think a deeper part of me was like, yep, you're going. Yep, this is what you're supposed to do. So, and I still love it, and I'm so happy to be back home after a stint on the mainland last year, and being here in California again with my sister in Taro. Yeah. In your gorgeous, can I just say, we are in a gorgeous Victorian home that Cyndera and her husband bought this year, and it's magical. So you will be seeing posts on our Instagrams about it. Truly is like, you have made this home that could potentially be a little bit of a casual, like a retreat center. It is over 100 years old, and every nook and cranny is just filled with magic. So I get to be here in the magical house with your wonderful husband. So it was meant to be. It was definitely meant to be.
Yeah.
Even though I almost didn't get here yesterday, right? Like that.
We were going to make that happen no matter what. And so, yeah, it was so wonderful to have you here. And I hope you're the first of many tarot living guests that we have here in the future. I want this to be an open space for people to come check out the Story Through Stone Museum. We've got billion-year-old stones that my father found perfectly fit into this room.
It's like
of
it
the
made
house.
for
it. Was
it.
like made to be here. It's a truly magic, and I'm just pinching myself every day with gratitude. So yeah, mini retreats. We got mermaid rooms.
The mermaid room
for yoga and dance, and
we're not making this up, people.
Oh my god, yeah. There's actually a mermaid room, and
there's a mermaid room.
And so, yeah, there's so many beautiful things ahead of us, and I'm so happy to be on this journey with you, Julienne. So
likewise.
Thank you for coming.
I think in a future episode, too, we should dive into the mermaid archetype.
Yes. Oh, great idea.
It has for sure been coming up in the culture. Probably, I would say, maybe for 5 years, I've started to see there was a Netflix program called Tidelands, that is essentially about mermaids, but on the land, but they're drug dealers. It's a thing. It's a thriller thing. But that's kind of an early memory of that. And then I myself, I'm kind of feeling it come through art, through music, through the idea, through rosaries. I actually am making mermaid rosaries. And sometimes any artist, you make stuff and you don't know what you're doing. You're like, why am I doing this? I don't have an idea. And through the process of making it, and then sometimes later, you're like, oh. And I would love to do a podcast to talk about the archetype of the mermaid and the fact that there's such a beautiful, emotional, feminine sense to that. That's the realm of the emotions is water. And why maybe that is helping us prepare for what is to come, that the nature of water. And yeah, let's do a mermaid show.
I would love that. That would be so amazing. And that opening image in the Mary Magdalene movie that you also want to do a podcast on, that really gave me in the water mermaid vibes as well. So just a little glimpse.
Most definitely. So more of, I think, a lot of the same stuff that we enjoy, that hopefully you come to us to enjoy. Definitely a lot about the feminine. We're not anti-masculine, but I think the work right now is being done underground. It's being done above ground psychologically, but there's a lot of the hidden that is being prepared and fomenting, where the roots have to dig down before something can kind of grow back up. That's my sense, I hope, anyway. So,
well, we will see what happens. We will ride the waves, and we will see you in the next podcast and future podcasts.
Yeah,
and
10 years.
Thanks.
Where's our champagne?
Oh, right.
We don't even have... It's not the drunk episode. Although...
we did do that.
From what I remember about the drunk episode, the devil made us do it archetypally. I don't know. You guys can go back and listen to it. I don't know if it's still good. I know we had a good time.
I can't even remember it.
It was quite a few years ago, but still. See, we're wild and crazy gals.
Time and drink
tarot
have eroded my memory.
Yeah.
But I think I will remember this moment and you being here, and into the future we go.
Yay. All right. Until next time. So at the end of the show, you're going to have a little thing. So pay attention to our email address and follow us on the Instagram. And we are putting out the call officially for people to get in touch with us. If you don't hear back right away, do not worry. We will respond in one way, shape, or form. So 2021 might be spoken for. We only have a few months left. But yeah, we want to hear what's going on with people to keep that going. And I know we're both going to try to be a little bit better about posting on Instagram the stuff will happening. I think we'll do a big dump of all the photos of your beautiful house. So
we're trying to keep up with the kids here.
Yeah.
What are they going to come up with next?
We're old. The old people on social media.
Well, we have a podcast that's 10 years old. That makes us
I
very
know.
old.
We are, yeah. We're like the grand dames of this particular version of media. Weird, right? We didn't know that. But I just want to say Meke aloha pumehana to everybody who listens. The greatest, deepest, warmest love for everyone who puts us in their earballs, as it were. And thank you for that. And definitely give us a shout out if you have some ideas. And big aloha from me and Cyndera. Yeah.
Love you. Bye-bye.
Bye. Thanks for listening. We are so glad that you've been on this ride with us. And for those listeners who've been with us from the beginning, wow. Thank you so much. And I just want to remind everybody, if you're enjoying the show, reach out and say hi, or suggest something for a future episode. You can email us at tarotpodcast@gmail.com. We're on Instagram and Facebook at Tarot Podcast. And as always, huge thanks to our patrons, Peter, Janet, Richard, Juniper, and Rash of Stay Woke Tarot. We appreciate our patrons for all their love and support. And you can find out more about the fabulous benefits of being a patron at tiny.cc/tarot podcast. And this episode is sponsored by Free Range Priestess on Etsy. You'll find unconventional rosaries, prayer beads, and now even jewelry. Search for Free Range Priestess on Etsy or just visit freerangepriestess.com. This podcast is produced by Both And Media, and our theme music is by The Lunar Group. Aloha.